Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of Retro Nerds Rewind Podcast. I am your host, Aaron. As you can see, we're all together again. I know it's been a while. We've had a lot of stuff going on between Power Morphicon. My wife actually had to do a Disney run, which just clogs up the schedule. So we're glad to be back. We're hoping to get back on track here for you guys. Let's go ahead and start a little bit. First thing I want to do is just let everybody know what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be going over Justice League Unlimited. The episode that we all voted on was for The Man Who Has Everything from Season 1. It is Episode 2 that aired on August 7th, 2004. All right, so first up, we've got Cody. Cody, why don't you say hi and tell us if you ever had a chance to watch this show before?
Hi, yes, I actually watched this show from the day that it aired on Cartoon Network all the way to, I want to say, season 3. I think I stopped at season 3,
Okay.
and then Netflix picked it up and finished it off because obviously I had to finish it because I watched the rest of the episodes.
Yes. All right, Sean, same thing to you.
Well, howdy ho, nerderinos! So I think I maybe watched one or two of these episodes when they first aired, but 2004, I was in my early 20s. I was no longer really watching cartoons anymore. We can see that everything is now circled back in life. Take that as a life lesson, kids. So I don't remember almost any of these episodes or ever watching.
Okay. What about you, Jamal?
Same. I didn't watch it till 2 weeks ago. So it was all fresh to me. Very campy, very cheesy, but I'll just leave it at that.
I thoroughly understand that. I did watch it when it was live for a little while. I stopped at the season finale of season 2 because to me that was it came back, and I know you guys only Cody probably knows this, but the finale of season 2 is actually called Epilogue, and it is a finale for Batman Beyond. They gave it an actual finale during this series. So for me, that was it can't get any better. I'm done. And that was when I stopped originally. And I have watched it again since then all the way through. But it was just a lot of fun. It tied in to the entire DC. It was what really created the DCEU extended universe for the animated universe, because it tied Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, tied all of them together with the original Justice League, and then they brought in all these other characters. So it was a lot of fun. This episode, you really only get a feel for 3 characters and a villain, but we'll get into that here shortly. So first thing we want to do is take a little break for a word from our sponsor, Drawn to Comics.
What's up, my nerds? So, quick break while we get back to our rewind, but I wanted to take a second here and do a little shout out for some of our sponsors. Starting with our longtime sponsor, Drawn to Comics. Drawn to Comics here in Glendale, Arizona. Amazing place to get your comic books. Located at 58th Avenue and Glendale. They have a discount code for our listeners that we will provide at the end of the episode, but they're a fantastic comic book shop. Whenever I go in there, I always feel like I'm a VIP, and everyone that I've talked to that goes in there feels the same way. So cannot say enough great things about them. Drawn to Comics, drawntocomics.com, 58th Avenue in Glendale, here in Arizona.
All right, we are back. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Drawn to Comics. We love having you guys as one of our sponsors. So first thing we want to do is just get a nice little short little summary of the episode. Cody, take it away.
Yes, so we open with our very iconic intro music, iconic cuts of all the different types of characters and stuff like that. We open with Wonder Woman and Batman on their way to Superman's fortress. It is Superman's birthday. Wonder Woman has a special gift while Batman asks, what do you even get a guy that has everything? And in a realization, in kind of awkward silence, Wonder Woman realizes, don't tell me you just brought him money. And he responds with, no, in fact, it's just a gift certificate.
Flip that. It was she asked it was a gift certificate, and it turns out he's just cash.
They finally arrive, though. They're walking in, and they realize that Superman's just standing in the middle of the room. And he has this weird, bizarre plant thing that is on him, and his eyes are completely dilated. It's completely stuck around him. And Wonder Woman, in her fast thinking, is realizing, holy cow, the fortress has been breached. We need to figure out what's going on. While Batman goes into his sleuth phase and starts to investigate the plant itself to see if he can find any clues. We pan into where Superman is mentally, and he is in a dreamlike state where he wakes up fresh as a day, and he is now on his own planet. Everything's fantastic, and they are planning to go visit their grandfather, or his grandfather, just for a fun day out on the town. It is also his birthday in this dreamlike state too. We then pan back to Batman trying to figure out what's going on with the plant, and Mongol, coming from the woodworks, walks in with a very unconscious Wonder Woman and just throws her to the ground and starts to monologue, as most evil villains do. And while he's distracted, Wonder Woman wakes up and decides, this guy needs a full foot to the chest, and starts to go into a fury and starts to beat him up. Batman, realizing that Wonder Woman needs backup, but he's going to try and pry some answers from Mongol as well to see how he can try and get this plant off. And as Mongol is about to explain the origins of the plant, Wonder Woman, in a barbaric rage, starts to punch the crap out of him, which pushes her into various weapons from different planets, and she starts to fight back with those weapons as well, which she shoots. She doesn't even know what she's shooting. She just wishes that it's going to do something, and it does a huge explosion, and thinking that she has won, she lets down her guard. In the smoke, however, Mongol comes forward and taunts her and starts to beat her up once again, explaining that the plant is putting you into a catatonic state to think of what your absolute best scenario is in the entire world. And that is what Superman is experiencing. We go back to Superman. He's going through, talking to his dad at the labs, just living his best life with his son. And tremors are going throughout the city. And he's realizing that something is not quite right about what's going on here. He tries to bring it up multiple times to the people around them. They keep saying that this is just a common occurrence, no need to worry about it. Basically, we live in California. We always get earthquakes here, no need to worry. But they do end up going to the rooftop of the labs, and we go back and forth between the dreamlike state to Batman and Wonder Woman trying to fight. And when Batman realizes that he has to try and convince Superman to come out of his dream, he tries to help his friend and trying to pry this plant off. And as he's yelling at him, we pan back to the dream on the rooftop now. more and more tremors are happening throughout the town, and Superman is realizing that this can't be real. He's having the realization that he has to let go. And his son is with him, and he's witnessing essentially the destruction of Krypton all over again, while he has to hug his own son and say, I'm so sorry, but this isn't real, but I'll see you hopefully later on. Because of this, the plant flies off. It's immediately going to look for another host and grips on to Batman, of course, because he's the next person that's right next to him. Batman starts to go into his catatonic, dreamlike state. Wonder Woman gets knocked down, almost completely defeated. She's really brutally beat up. And Superman, royally pissed, goes in on Mongol instead. We go
Justified.
we go into the dream of Batman. Batman's reliving his mom and dad's murder again, but it changes this time. His dad becomes an ultimate gangster. He grabs the gun from the guy, shoots the criminal instead, and Batman is happy. And Wonder Woman, knowing that she needs to do the same thing for what Bruce did for Superman, starts to yell for Bruce to wake up. It's not real. Of course, Batman, having a little bit more willpower, is able to get out, and the plant releases, and Wonder Woman starts to wrestle. Mongol and Superman are in a very big fight. He finally gets to knock him down. Wonder Woman tosses the plant to him. The plant hooks onto Mongol, and he has been finally sated. While Batman is looking at Mongol, asking, what do you think he's dreaming about? And Superman simply replies, simply something that is too good for him. The episode ends, slowly panning in on Mongol as we hear cries of agony and destruction and war. And we roll the credits.
That was a good episode. I enjoyed it. We'll get a little more into the details about what we liked about it, things we noticed here in just 1 second from the next word from one of our sponsors. Well, thank you very much, guys. Hey, first off, I want to thank Peoria Championship Martial Arts. They have been a sponsor here since the very beginning. My family, in fact, actually goes to their school. So if you guys do decide to swing by, you will probably see us. Get to meet the kids, get to meet myself and my wife. We've been going there for 5 years. The school is amazing for kids as well as adults, has programs that reach both age groups. So their special for our listeners is $49 a month. $49 for the first 4 weeks. That includes your GI introductory lesson with Howard Munding, the instructor and owner of the school. Their website is martialartspeoria.com, and their phone number, where you can schedule your appointments easily with them, is 623-486-0970. Again, 623-486-0970. Peoria Championship Martial Arts in Peoria, Arizona. Feel free to give them a call. Thank you very much. All right, we are back. Let's talk a little bit more in detail about what we liked, what we didn't like, things that we noticed now being adults that we not necessarily would have not opened as kids. So let's go ahead and head on into this. All right, Sean, why don't you lead us off with this?
Absolutely, because there's one thing that I noticed rewatching this that was actually like something that's more commonplace today, but wasn't commonplace, which is a cold open. Has been like a nice change of pace. It's something that's commonplace today, but not something that was really common back when we were younger.
Very true. That was nice. It was fun seeing the invisible jet for the first time in this series, especially considering the fact that Batman can't fly. So Wonder Woman gave up and decided to be like, hey, you know what? Instead of me carrying you all the way to the North Pole, let's just top it right in my jet and go from there. So
and underwater too.
Yes, they had to go underwater to get to the entrance for them, because that was not that's not the the exterior entrance with the key that only Superman could lift.
Is the VIP entrance essentially?
That's right. So the next thing I thought was really funny is, I don't know if everyone's seen it or not, but there's that GIF out there of Batman holding up the envelope with the cash and saying, "Oh, it's just cash." This is where it comes from. So it was funny seeing that and getting reminded of that.
That was definitely a highlight of the episode for me as well. And I will just tack on to that, admittedly, and Aaron can attest to this, that is a me move.
Yeah.
that is directly from my playbook of a gift card attach.
It really encaptures the personalities of two dynamics. Wonder Woman, who's thoughtful, thinks things out thoroughly. Batman, here you go.
Yeah. The line that he says is, "What do you get for the guy that has everything?" Spoken from a guy who literally has everything and can buy anything he wants. So, I mean, it's just pure irony with that. It was, I thought it was pretty funny. So, from there, the next thing we see is Superman wrapped up in flowers and tentacles, and my brain, being the adult, having watched way too much anime and other things at times, was like, hey, did I pick on the right show? So
because shortly after watching this, we went and saw the new Alien movie. So the only thing I kept thinking was face suckers too. So same realm.
That's true. Yeah.
But shortly after that, I completely, because I haven't watched this cartoon in a while, I forgot how, because in my head, when I think of punch first, think later, I think of Superman. When Wonder Woman immediately went into, I need to figure out this, I'm angry, and left the scene, I was shocked.
Yeah, I get that. One thing I will say right before that was when they actually did the real intro. If you notice, when you watch more of JLU, every intro is tailored to the episode. Whereas with a lot of cartoons, you had one intro going through it. They went through every single episode and made an intro specific for that episode. And it's really fun to watch. It's one of the few series I don't skip it, because I can get like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. And it helps me remember and enjoy what's going to happen a little bit more.
Yeah. So. I wholeheartedly agree. Between that, and I know we discussed it, Aaron, too, but in that intro, just all the iconic shapes of all the heroes and the silhouettes is like, it reminds me almost like best way I can think of it is like the same like happiness hormone that I get when I see the Capcom versus Marvel 2 roster.
Right. Yeah, I thoroughly understand that. Yeah. Gotta watch that intro.
It's so good.
So then obviously we entered into the Vision. It's going to be good when you go into a Vision and you see something, especially once it starts taking shape. You see that wheat farm on Krypton, and of course Clark, being the farmer at heart, becomes one. And then you get that nice redheaded Lois. I was like, yeah, I like that.
Well, and what makes it kind of that's the kind of tricky part about this too, is it gives you slight hints that it's not real too, is that all the names are slightly off.
Right.
Too. So Loana, Van L.
I was glad they went with Van L and not John, because this way, if they ever decided to move forward in the Batman lore, you could bring in his actual son somewhere along the way if they ever decide to. So then we get back to reality. Obviously, Wonder Woman's playing possum, comes out, does her little attack, and Batman stops her, getting Mongol to talk because he wants to know about it. I'm like, classic Batman. Get that villain talking, get him going so he can figure out exactly what you need to do. Because until you know what the plant's doing and what's going on, for all he knew, if he pulled it off, he could have died. Because there were villains like that in his world, in Gotham, that created those types of things in there that he fought even in Batman the Animated Series. So it was good to see the split in the brain thought right there.
The detective in him, essentially.
Yes. So we kind of go back, see Crypto, Dan. It was real nice.
And so in that same scene where we get to see Crypto, which is awesome, Van L. So I had to look this up because I was looking up all the other voice actors and stuff for the show, and I didn't realize this, but that was Josh Hutcherson voicing Van L. And for those not familiar, PETA from the Hunger Games is Josh Hutcherson. He does a lot of other stuff too, very recognizable, but that was a very, very young Josh Hutcherson. I thought it was a cool fact.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then let's also mention it was really cool to kind of see like the digital map of what Krypton kind of looked like from Superman's view too, and what it would have looked like if it survived throughout everything else in his own mind, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was really cool to see and stuff. Also, I don't know what it is with every single old-timey movie and trying to do futuristic fashion, but they always have tiaras too.
Yeah.
So that's all I kept focusing on, is everyone has a tiara as well.
I think that started in the 60s or 70s when they were doing in film doing that stuff. I remember the earliest one I remember is an old Sean Connery film where he wears basically the Borat, and they had the other, plenty of the other characters had it on there as well. So it's that, yeah.
Future will bring us tiaras, is all I have to say.
Tiaras and minimal everything else.
Yes.
So.
So after they transitioned out of that flashback sequence, and we get back to the fight between Wonder Woman and Mongol, there's I got a comment here of the Mongol says plasma disruptor. It's more of a woman's weapon. Jess, I will tell you right now, did not like that comment, and it caused them to root against the bad guy even more. So I will say, well played.
Great writing. Does that.
Good writing.
It's one of those things. Especially in the turn of the century, turn of the millennium, right around there. There was so much when it was coming to how women were being talked to, especially in programs, and so doing that with your antagonist was the right call, especially with a character like Wonder Woman, because she didn't take guff from no one. So,
and later on in the show too, because you get introduced to so many female heroes too. One of my favorite episodes showcases that a lot too. I won't go into the details of the episode, but it's very much all about like, it's not about objectifying women. It's about fighting against those who are trying to objectify against women, and pitting them against each other is the whole moral of it. And it ends up, it's my favorite episode because it's such a cool episode.
Nice. So after that, we go back to the dream state and another earthquake, which Brainiac says was predicted weeks ago. Little, foreshadowing going on here for those who know Superman lore.
And then at about the 12-minute mark, we get our first scene with Jor-El. Again, because I was looking up the voice actors, this was voiced by Chris McDonald, who, for those that don't recognize that name, that's Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, among many, many other things. And I was actually just surprised at the number of voices that I recognized in this. I loved it. And then right after that, you have a blink and you miss it moment where Jor-El's voice switches over to Batman's voice for a very brief second. I thought it was a really cool touch to the scene. And again, getting back to that, just great writing, great delivery, great acting.
If you notice in the background of that scene they kind of bring it to the forefront, but you've got to then notice if you keep looking while you're in this, the plant that is on Superman is there multiple times in the background. You have the one where Van El points and says, "What's this?" But if you keep looking around in that room there is like 7 or 8 of them in it, just flat out showing, hey, something's not right here. You're not where you think you are.
Well, and also sometimes you'll see like some of the buildings are slowly crumbling in the background, but then it'll pan over again to it and it's perfectly fine sometimes too. So again, details, like small details like that, they do this throughout the whole series.
Which rolls right into a couple minutes later where it hit me right in the parent when Superman says, "I don't think you're real," to Van El. Like that one still just that
I'll never forget you. Yeah, I'm just like, it's like I have a friend who him and his wife had a miscarriage the first time they were trying, and it happened weeks after they knew they were, and it was one of those that was like at that breaking point of good out into the safe zone when it happened, and so they were so attached, and he now has he got a tattoo for it on there. So it's like stuff like that for Superman is the same thing as what happened to my friend. So it'll always be in that version. That'll be his first, no matter what, because he'll never forget the memories, like he said, with the day he was born and all that. So it's just one of those things. So obviously it gets the plant gets ripped off, and Superman starts crying and has a very emotional explosion. Again, we have that great writing and that very angry moment going through there. Batman gets the plant put on him. I love how his vision turns to black and white.
Yes,
it was great little tie-in. And then time seemed like it moved so much slower on his than it did for Superman's, which was great, because that was truly his happiest moment that he ever wanted, was simply his parents being there. But then seeing his smile, what'd you guys think of Batman's smile?
That was I was a little concerned.
It was a little unnerving.
Yeah. That's because he doesn't smile.
No,
that's the whole point,
Yeah.
He does like the small smirks here and there, but seeing him actually smile was very bizarre. Also, in his dream, his dad like the face of his dad when he grabs the gun was, in my eyes, if I relive that personally, seeing my own parent just grab a gun from someone and shoot someone and be happy about it, I would have been concerned immediately. But obviously we know Batman has been through so much that violence is nothing new to him now. So that's why it made it so comfortable for him.
Right. So the next we got Superman completely going off on Mongol, letting all that rage out, and which is entirely justified. Wonder
I never
Woman
felt
gets
more justified for violence than that.
yeah. Wonder Woman threw the plant off of got the plant off of Batman, throws it at Mongol. It's like classic. You got a villain that's trying to kill everybody, and this being 2004, if you notice with the change of the millennium, they used kill a number of times. Both Batman said it, Mongol said it. It was flat out there. Whereas in the 90s and 80s, they couldn't say that. It was, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to crush you. They would, say things that meant the same, but wouldn't get the censors, up in a bunch. So, yeah.
The last comment that I have here is a nice change. Again, another nice change of pace. Another nice touch to it was when you watch a cartoon like this and you see the battle damage on a character. Usually you see a cut to the forehead, a small trickle of blood on the side of the mouth. They straight up jacked up his face.
Yeah.
Huge welts, missing teeth. Like you really felt that the amount of damage this guy actually took was more.
Well, Wonder Woman too, throughout when she's just like limping, I was like, oh my God. She was like, she had like full on black eye at one point. She had like her outfit was like sliced open at some point too. And she's like crawling at that point to Batman. And it makes you realize it does, because I didn't realize how strong Mongrel was, because I already know how strong Wonder Woman is. And if she's barely just like crawling, just making it to Batman, I can only imagine what is going through her mind too.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've kind of gone through some of the notes we've had on here. Real quick, want to take one final break for a word from our very last sponsor, and then we'll come back with final thoughts.
Hey, nerds. We'll get back to the rewind in just a moment, but I've got to jump in here because I've got some great news for you. We've got a brand new sponsor. Yes, we do. Mediocre Studios. This is a veteran-founded small business specializing in 3D printed miniatures, terrain, tabletop pieces. If you are anything like me, which, let's face it, you might be. I love my 3D printer. I love my 3D printed pieces and painting them, but there's so many. I've got a huge backlog of stuff to paint. Well, guess what? Not only is Mediocre Studios the official US distributor for the Uniformation 3D resin printer, but they also provide minis, tabletop terrain pieces, and painting services. And guess what? They're about to hook you up by letting us hook you up. That's right, we got promo codes, kids! If you go on to their website, mediocre-studios.com, you can order the JK2 and get $80 off if you use the promo code RETRO. Also, you can get 5% off the purchase of any miniature, terrain, or those painting services if you use code word REWIND. They are adding new products all the time, from top modelers including Immaterium God Miniatures, Den of Imagination, DMG Minis, and several other talented artists. So go check them out. The link's down below. That's mediocre-studios.com. Don't sleep on this one because A, these guys are amazing. B, you know you got that backlog. I got that backlog. Go get some stuff painted. It looks great on the table. Go do it. Wait for the podcast again to be over. Listen, enjoy us, but go visit them. That's Mediocre Studios. Yeah.
All right, we are back, everybody. So, all right, let's get our final thoughts here on this episode before we start talking about the future. All right, so first thing first, I want to head over to Jamal. Jamal, you were awfully quiet while we were doing the little recap on there. So I want to go to you first. What did you think of this episode and of this series? You said you didn't watch it when it came out. So I want to know what you thought of it and whether or not you think you would be interested in watching more, actually starting with the original Justice League that first tied in Batman and Superman, the animated series, together.
Yeah, I love the original. I wouldn't watch this one again, the Unlimited, just because the campiness and stuff like that. In my opinion, I think, they're trying to tie in, like you said, all that stuff. It's cool for what it was. If that generation likes it, just not. I wouldn't watch it again. But it was a cool episode. It had lots of stuff in it. I like how it all took place in one area, except for those dream sequences. So in that type of cartoon area, you didn't get a lot of like anime, like how they change different scenes. Sometimes they would just take place in a building or in a meeting area like that.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite part?
Probably like you guys were touched on already, which was the son and father scene, because we all know Superman wants a son, so I think that was pretty cool.
What did you not like most? Besides the campiness. I mean, we can't really see campiness as a bad thing, considering we're all big Power Ranger fans, right?
It was just like, monster, like, let me pull it off your face. Okay, now it's back on this person. Oh, now it's on Wonder Woman. It's like, really? Like, it was just a lot of the same, I know Power Rangers Monsters is the same too, but I mean, at least they change, like, per episode.
Yeah. And this one does too when we get to the, if you want to watch a few other ones, you'll see that actually this series has the most multi-parters between it. Whereas like the original Justice League, most everyone was a single episode, occasional two-parter. This one, almost every season has at least half of the seasons as two-parters. So they tell longer stories.
Was the most difficult thing as a kid that went to school often and had to go to their cousin to watch it, specifically at a specific time.
So, Sean, what did you think of the episode?
It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I will say that right now. I was very pleasantly surprised. It actually touched on some emotions, which is pretty rare for me these days. So I enjoyed it. I'm very interested in watching more, specifically that epilogue episode that you mentioned, because it wraps up Batman Beyond. So look forward to that, viewers and listeners. I'll be pushing for that one.
It's on my list. Don't worry.
Good. Mine too now. Mine too.
Like I've said in the past, I have almost an entire year planned out for us that I'll be bringing little pieces up forward, so that way we can kind of decide how we want to go through some things. So, Cody, what'd you think of the episode?
I mean, this is like my 5th or 6th time seeing this episode. It again, it's on the top list of favorite episodes of this series. It's just another reason why this show is so good, because of the attention of detail. You get a lot closer to the characters, more so than maybe even some of the comics. And then I have a feeling that this show kind of influenced the comics later on too, to write more very intimate stories and stuff like that of it. So as far as the episode goes, fantastic.
Good. Before I share mine, I want to give out that discount code for Drawn to Comics for all of our listeners. If you head to Drawn to Comics anytime soon, use the discount code of RETRO to get 10% off your total purchase, excluding consignment and specially marked items like sale items. So use that code RETRO next time you go in. All right.
I will
so
indeed.
my final, huh?
We can't.
Well, no, we
Sean.
can't.
We can't.
Listeners have to. Listeners get to. They get to use the discounts. So, I personally, this is one of my favorite episodes from this series. It's one of the reasons why it was one of the ones I suggested when we were watching the Mr. Freeze episode for Batman the Animated Series, because it's showing how good the writing continued to go on. Because whenever you can get an episode that actually tugs at some kind of emotion or thought process, make you think a different way, make you feel a different way than you did going into it, it's just it's great, and I love highlighting that stuff. Obviously, like Sean, my father, that stuff always hits hard, hits you right in the feels on there. So that was my favorite area of the episode. I do enjoy watching this series with my kids. Both Elaine and Andrew enjoy watching it. They watch this one with me as well, really enjoying it. Elaine hates Mongol for the same reasons Jess did. Because, again, good writing, tugged at that emotion, created that extra anger right there. So, yes. Any final thoughts you guys would like to say real quick before we hit the wrap up?
I'm good.
Good.
I said what I'm saying.
I think we need more spotlight on female superheroes. Even though we have so many in this show as it is, I'm always gung-ho for female superheroes and supervillains.
I back
And
that.
we'll get there. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us again on this edition of Retro Nerds Rewind podcast. Join us next time when we go over Thundercats.
Oh,
Sorry. Thunder.
Thundercats.
Thundercats. Ho!
Oh! Love it. Can't wait.
All right. You guys have a wonderful week. And Sean, why don't you close us out?
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time when we hit Rewind.